Things you own end up owning you.
Talk to you about Andrew Huberman.
Well, yeah, I know. Do you want to rant about Andrew Huberman? That would be great.
Oh my
Um,
God, I would love that. Let's rant
yeah,
about Andrew Huberman, dude. Well, listen, I mean, he had that. I saw that post that he made on Instagram about red light, that new study that just came out. We can
yeah,
cover the study later. Maybe we can fully like talk about it, what your thoughts on it, and all that. But he posted that thing about the study, and I didn't fully listen to the clip just because I have a hard time listening to him for a long time because it's
yes,
people like sometimes people think I fucking hate the guy or something. I don't hate anybody, just to clarify. And
yeah,
I really do think that everybody has something good to share. It's not like he's a complete fucking moron and he doesn't share anything good. But he just does a lot of the go outside, sleep, eat good food, and rest, and which is very like basic
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah.
But for some reason, when you word it really fancy, it really tends to stick well to the like liberal California mom types. They love that.
Okay,
And plus, he's like
yeah,
handsome and he's tall. He's got a
right.
beard, deep voice.
Yeah,
So
he's got that
they
look.
they
Yeah,
yeah, and it's fine. I'm not
yeah,
jealous, or it's great. But
right.
yeah, it's just a lot of like basic stuff, a lot of word salad stuff.
Yeah.
And he posted that thing about this new study. And afterwards, I saw you repost it, and then I listened to it again. And I even recorded it. I'll probably share it on my
Oh,
Instagram. He
nice. Yeah,
explicitly said that, uh, s- you know, you can get your red light. Well, Andrew, how about you break this
yeah.
down? There we go.
Let me
Sorry, that's
try.
what you're here for.
So,
My bad, bro.
no, yeah. So, for people that don't know, I'm Andrew LaTour. I run Gemba Red LLC. Been selling red light therapy products since 2018. I'm one of the OG, red light panel companies that came out. A lot of people haven't heard of me because I don't do, tons of marketing and whatnot, but a lot of people do find me because of my organic content, my evidence-based blogs, the science, the, literature. Tons of my competitors and their influencers come to my blog to learn the basic science because they're not learning it from the brands that they're actually affiliated with, and they're coming to me, to learn the basics, and then they pass it off on as their own and whatnot. So I've known this stuff for quite a while and have been breaking it down meticulously, bit by bit, the science, the wavelengths, the mechanisms, the dosing. I do a lot of blogs on the dosing, tools, calculators. I've got it all. But then I start to see, these online doctors and influencers like Andrew Huberman post about red light therapy and photobiomodulation. And I just it feels so compelled to piggyback on it and criticize them a little bit. I don't think anyone's beyond criticism. My company's gotten more criticism than anyone else in the
Mhm.
industry. So, it's not like I'm disproportionately criticizing anyone, because I'm so transparent and because my products are, pretty, uh, uh, contradicting like a lot of the narratives that, oh, you need high power and you need tons of wavelengths and all this
Mm.
stuff. So people criticize me all the time, but it's fine. That's part of the science. So I think it helps people when you publicly criticize, or using our free speech to criticize. You've criticized, Dave Asprey and
Yes.
Aubrey
Yes.
Marcus, and so we're kind of comrades in
Yes,
criticizing a lot of these
exactly. And
big
it's not a super personal
influencers.
attack. And at the
Right.
same time, they do share some good things. Even
Yeah,
fucking Dave
for sure.
Asprey, who I've personally been following also before
Yeah.
anybody even knew who he
Oh yeah.
was. I
Me
remember
too.
listening to his first podcast on Joe Rogan, which they kind of disappeared, I think, because Joe started to hate him so much. He probably just
Yeah.
washed those away. But I remember watching it like live. Nobody even knew who he really was, as far as
Oh
the
yeah.
mainstream. And anyway, so even he has some good shit to share, but
Yeah.
boy, do they overstep their thing lines
Right.
sometime,
Yeah.
very frequently.
Right. So yeah, I'm all about, at this point, I was told for years, mind your own business, don't criticize anyone, just focus on your own business, and don't. And then like I said, people are stealing content from me, people are bashing me online. I'm like, all right, you know what?
Hmm. Hmm.
They were tricking me. They were taking advantage of my kindness. Now it's
Yeah.
time for me to dish some of this back out. So with Andrew Huberman's latest post, and it's kind of a pattern with him where he talks about red light therapy, or he talks about the benefits of sunlight, or he kind of reports on a photobiomodulation study, which that's the science of red light therapy. And then he kind of does it in this, oh, I'm not trying to sell you anything, just go get sunlight. And I've seen a bunch of doctors do this even recently, like Dr. Roger from the MedCram channel. He does a lot of great posts about, you know, the benefits of sunlight. But then he kind of talks funny of like, oh, you can't get these wavelengths anywhere else except from sunlight. Oh, you can't get incandescent bulbs anymore. You have to just go outside. And then I just did a follow-up post a couple days ago. I'm like, you can still get incandescent bulbs from Amazon. Here they are. Here's the links. I'll test them for you. Like, why are we gatekeeping things that do exist and be like, oh, I'm not selling you anything, bro. Just go get sunlight. And they're trying to sound like unbiased, but they're trying so hard to be unbiased that they're doing a disservice to their audience.
Yes. And the gatekeeping is like one, of course it makes sense. And the gatekeeping is one thing. And another level to it is the Huberman style, where it's like, well, like you said, he goes, well, I am sponsored by Juve, but you could get another one, but not all of them have it. And you're like, wait, so just at least, to me, it's like, at least just go, this is my preferred red light panel. If you really want to be, if you think that's, go ahead, that's fine, you know, but like, to me, it's even more pretentious to just be, well, I mean, I am sponsored by them, but I don't make any money off of them, kind of, but I do sometimes. And it's, what the fuck is...
But that's no, I mean, and I think he's actually added that because I was trolling him so hard for previous posts where he talks about red light therapy vaguely, but he didn't disclose that he's sponsored by Juve, which is an FTC violation. So after I called him out a couple times on that, at least he's like doing that dance and that little jiggy of like, well, he's sponsored, but he didn't get paid for this particular post, but sometimes he gets paid for his podcast and blah, blah, blah. You know, so at least he's doing that dance. It's a little bit more transparent because I keep busting on, you know, a lot of these top influencers for red light therapy. They're not
on the video. He doesn't even say Juve. He
doesn't say Juve.
He just tags it, right?
So it's tags it with that word salad of like, well, sometimes I'm sponsored, sometimes I'm not. I don't know. You know, who knows anymore. But yeah, so that's the thing of like, and like I said, people will happily support him financially. You know, they pay for subscriptions, for Patreon, for affiliate codes. I tell my own influencers this all the time. I'm like, hey, your followers want to support you and they will use your affiliate code. So it's not like a bad thing where you're being transparent. First off, it's the law, so it's not optional. And second off, you know, you're helping your audience by being transparent and providing them these options. So I think, you know, again, I think my criticisms maybe got through to him because one of the times last time he directly replied to me that he had some loophole. I didn't mention Juve, so I don't need to say that I'm sponsored. I'm like, it's not how the FTC works, bro. So, you know, I kept calling him out. And so at least he's disclosing that. So that's the key. So yeah, with the study, and it was just reported on MedCram. I did a summary of it. It's a really, you know, groundbreaking study. One of the things was that near infrared light can pass through the entire human body. So they went in, they shown sunlight and then 850 nanometer LEDs in separate experiments through the back. And they had like a high, you know, a sensor with high sensitivity to detect like those trace amounts of photons coming through the other end. So you need very sensitive equipment because the intensity drops off like exponentially. So most of the light is absorbed within the first 10 to 20 millimeters. So, you know, less than an inch. That's the real therapeutic kind of relevant range of, you know, 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters is really where you're getting therapeutic benefits. But then the photons do, you know, a trace amount can come through the other side. So it's not a big surprise that if you have a sensitive sensor, you can detect it coming through the body. So I was kind of summarizing as, yeah, that's kind of a fun fact. The near infrared light does penetrate all the way through the body. A lot of people think that's the only way red light therapy can work is if the photons directly get absorbed by your cells that need the healing. So like, oh, if I want my heart to be healed or my brain to be healed, there's a lot of doubts that the photons will directly reach those organs. And, you know, a trace amount does. But a lot of the effects are more systemic, so that absorption in those first couple layers of the skin seem to send more of what they call systemic benefits deeper into the body, or abscopal benefits, or they have a couple different names for it, remote benefits. So they start a cascade of signals that do benefit different parts of the body, or they send, you know, anti-inflammatory molecules to other parts of the body, or they activate stem cells, which reaches the cells that need to be healing. So if like they had rodents that had a heart attack and they treat the tibia and it helps heal the heart and you know, the shin bone. And so because they were mobilizing stem cells that go into the heart and help heal the heart faster. So there's a lot of these effects you don't necessarily need that deep penetration for, and you really only need low doses and low intensities. So that was the next part of what Huberman was trying to break down. Is he said, oh, well, you know, oh, they use 850 nanometers LEDs, which he started talking funny of like, oh, you can't just use any red light. It has to be a device that has this invisible near infrared 850, which is the most common LED on the market. It's mass produced. My theory was years ago, I busted this, was the 850 was already mass produced for the security camera industry. You can go on Amazon and get cheap security camera illuminators that are 850 nanometers, and they're like 20 or 40 bucks, and you can get high powered LEDs that are 850 that are security camera lights, and you can use them therapeutically. Before this market got flooded with panels from Alibaba, that's where people were getting their DIY red light therapy. They were getting them, they were hacking them, they were taping over the light sensor because they only turn on at night. So you tape over that, and then you use that. So even Dr. Hamlin was talking about this years ago. So you can get. I
haven't heard of that, dude. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
wow.
No, that's the old knowledge. The old blogs used to talk about it and stuff like that. That's where the real hackers were getting their 850 nanometers light. So you can get this light.
Those chicken coop lights are the same thing, right? That's also produced.
Chicken coop lights are the incandescent bulbs. So that's a different topic. So that's the heat lamps. It burns the filament at a high temperature, and it has a broader spectrum. So when
is 850 in that, but it's not only 850.
There's some 850 in that. I would say maybe it's only 5 or 10%.
It's just some of it is in there. I was just saying it to say that a lot of people have these little hacks or whatever from the repeat world or stuff like that. People are wearing chicken coop laps, but I've never heard of the security camera ones. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So again, he's gatekeeping, like he's kind of implying, well, you can only get it from very specialized, panel companies, and he didn't name Juve.
Yes.
He only did it in the description. And so I'm like, why? How can you even talk like this when it's so almost every brand sells 850 nanometers LEDs? Any brand you can stumble into, there's nothing special about it. And that's the amazing thing. You can get amazing benefits for real cheap. You don't have to buy from me. You don't have to buy from Juve. You can get it all over the internet real cheap. And that's what will make red light therapy so, popular and therapeutic, is that if we don't gatekeep these things and we say, hey, these are cheap LEDs, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing special about it. I have a lot of trouble selling my products because I'm like, I'm just selling you evidence-based stuff that you can, you can get it. I just do it better than anyone else because I actually care. But it's not like I have any patents or I have anything special that no one else can replicate.
Right. And I just to check, I went to Google, just typed in red light therapy devices, went straight to Amazon, started clicking on the first one, the second one. Yeah. Every single one of them had 850 NM on it. Every single fucking one. I didn't see even this really like kind of crappy ones that are like, I haven't seen that yet. It's like it's almost like a toothbrush, but for your skin, where you're just kind of, I guess the idea is
the wand. We'll kind of call them like the wand type ones where you kind of wave
I haven't seen. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more crazy ones, but even that one was 850 NM, and it had right away. It's the first thing that's on it. I didn't have to dig deep into the the description box or anything. So I wanted to play this clip. I was thinking, I don't know. Let me see. Sorry, is that too loud? I was gonna play it.
I'm fine.
So people can hear that. We're not bullshitting. I'm just what he says here. So
to the end. Okay, now there are things that can increase the membrane potential of your mitochondria, but this new study suggests that one of the more powerful things is this 850 nanometer light that comes from sunlight. Yes, you can recapitulate this with an artificial source, like a pure 850 nanometer artificial light source, but most people don't have that or have access to it. And no, you're not going to find it in just a pure red light device. You would need one that also makes 850 nanometer light at high intensity. The point here is get 20 minutes to 30 minutes of sunlight exposure onto your skin each day. Do that at a time of day when the sun is relatively low in the sky so you don't get too much UV exposure. This will improve your mitochondrial function. And this can help you have more energy. Put any questions in the comments.
Plenty enough.
All right.
So again, he's saying that you can't get this light, this 850 nanometer light from any red light device. And what do we think about that, Andrew?
I mean, it's kind of semantic terminology that you hear a lot of times, that we call it red light therapy in general, but usually it includes near infrared in that range of red to near infrared, 600 nanometers up to, 900 nanometers or even 1100 nanometers. So it's kind of implied. We don't want to say red and near infrared light therapy because that's like a lot of words. So we just say red light therapy. So most red light therapy panels include some near infrared, and the vast majority of them are 850. So if you got, it doesn't matter, you have a Juve, you have a platinum LED, you have a Gemba Red, it's got some 850 nanometers in it. So there's
probably these days
no mystery.
Harder to find one without it, right?
Exactly.
That has a lower weight.
Yeah.
So,
if like some of my panels don't have it, they're like, where's the 850? So so this study happened to use 850 again. I don't even know if they chose it because it's commercially available or because it's they actually thought it was the best, but they knew it was effective. And, again, anyone can access it. You don't need anything specialized. The other thing he was saying is you need high intensity. When the study used 9 milliwatts per centimeter squared for the benefit for the eye health. So you use 9 milliwatts per centimeter squared for 15 minutes on the backs of patients, and that actually improved their color vision. They do like a test where they look at some sort of screen and colors, and they identify certain colors. So it's only 9 milliwatts per centimeter squared, which most people would say that's very low, especially because I sell products in that range, and people are like, oh my God, it's too low to have any benefit. And I've been hearing this for years, and it's not true. My products are working great for people. I've got tons and tons of science that validates it. There's very little science that validates what Juve claims they emit is 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So that's the other big point that really sets me off, is that Juve has been claiming 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared at 6 inches away for years. They actually backpedaled that claim a bunch of years ago now, like 5 years ago, when they got third-party testing and they realized that they were lying. Instead of stopping lying, they just kind of, reworded it so it's not 100% lie. It's more of a lie of omission with how they word it.
Is that still like on their website?
I just screenshotted it for you. I sent it to you in our chat on Instagram. They're still advertising 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared, but they're not advertising the distance anymore because they know, I mean, if you get close enough, if you're at like half an inch away, then sure, you're getting 100 milliwatts. But if you're 6 inches away, which is their recommended treatment distance, you are not getting it. So it's in like an implied claim that people are falsely getting 100. So we know this goes all the way back to, when they first started, and Juve had, guys like Ari Witten write a book on red light therapy. And he said multiple times in the book, with zero evidence, that you really need 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared for red light therapy to be effective or to penetrate deep enough, or whatever his reasons were. But he didn't give any like relevant studies that actually used LED panels that emitted that much intensity. And what I've been warning the industry for years is that if you do get a panel with 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared at 6 inches away, you will be scorching yourself. It will be uncomfortably hot. It would be ridiculously warm, because it's a lot, like, these are kind of numbers that nobody understands. That's why Ari Wayne had no problem lying about it, because he truly just didn't know any better. And it's like, and it really reflects on guys like Andrew Huberman of like, why are you recommending this brand that's misleading about intensity? That's, these intensity numbers are reckless and irresponsible, and they're causing, now the panels on the market, 7 years later are scorching people, and they're not even at 100 yet. They're at like 80 or maybe 90, and people are reporting the skin redness, the erythema. They sometimes get hyperpigmentation. They feel overstimulated from all this high-powered.
So there has been reports
panels.
of people doing this to themselves.
Oh yeah, I've got tons and tons of screenshots on social media of people using Mita Reds and platinum LEDs, and even the top influencers are just ignoring it and just telling them, oh, it's okay to overdose, and they're really gaslighting their own audience of like, oh, what, oh, you got some skin redness, oh, and they interview these experts, real experts, and but they ask them the most biased questions of like, is it okay to overdose? Is it okay to overheat your skin? They don't actually ask unbiased questions of like how to do it properly and optimally and safely.
So they're kind of just, it's like the old vegan thing of like, oh, it's fine if you lost your period. It's totally normal. You're detoxing, kind of thing like that, right? That's
exactly.
what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, and yet now you have to taper up. So if you get a high intensity panel, you have to start with like one.
Up.
Yeah, you start with 1 minute. And you build up a tolerance. That's not a thing in the studies. It's not a thing with any of my products. Again, there might be a small population that's, hypersensitive to light and, medications or thin skin or something like that. But most people, you do not need to taper up your exposure to red light. Like, it is ridiculous. So, and so that's where
and
I'm
in
getting
this study that Huberman was referencing, was that a study done at 6 inches? Or not?
It was, I think it was quite a distance away. It was like, I want to say like a bunch of centimeters away. I forget what it was, but it was pretty far away. Most studies don't actually use 6 inches away. That kind of became like a unofficial standard for commercial products, but not like, it's kind of arbitrary. You want the distance to correspond to getting the right amount of intensity, because the intensity decreases with distance as the light, diffuses and diverges. So the intensity kind of decreases as the light spreads out from the source. So that's the key point. The 6 inches away thing was kind of a myth of like, yeah, that worked for the panels back in 2018, but now panels are so much more powerful. You need to be a lot further away and make sure you get that low intensity so you're not scorching yourself. So it was a distance away. I forget, it was something in centimeters. I'd have to pull it up. But yeah, it was a distance treatment, low intensity, 10 times less than what Juve is claiming. And then Huberman says, oh, you really need high intensity, but he has no clue what he's talking about. All these layers of lies, all the lies that Juve is probably feeding him of his understanding of red light therapy. And like, how can you
I don't even think
pretend to
it's
be an
that,
expert?
man. I honestly, like I said, I hate to be personal, but I just really think the guy's kind of just, even though it's so overused these days, grifter, but I think he kind of is that because I started going down this Huberman path of, things that he said and then he changed. So there's this other podcast that I wanted to talk to you about with him. It was from like 4 years ago, from 2021. They were talking about circadian rhythm and blue blockers. And he basically says, well, yeah, they're kind of useless, really. If you think that, if your idea is to like fix your circadian rhythm, you probably just shouldn't have any light. And because blocking out one wavelength is not necessarily like you have a bunch of different, systems in your eyes that respond to all sorts of light. It's not just red light. So it's kind of also an arbitrary thing. And yes, it's probably having too much blue light is probably overstimulating. And we do respond to that one a lot, but we respond to other light wavelengths too. And then recently he's like, I am sponsored by Roca glasses we designed. So it's like, again, it's fine if you want to, but I just don't know, man. I really just think the guy says a thing. I think he must know better, right? I mean, he is the Stanford man, right? He must know some of this stuff. He must not be confused by the wavelength stuff. Do you think that he's just confused by 850, what that means? And and the other
I think he's so busy. Like, I think they're like so busy grift maxing that they don't have time. Like, because I see this with like, yeah, all these other influencers. Like, they're so busy grift maxing that they don't have time to really dedicate and get that real expertise and just do some Google searches. Like you said, we can Google search, and like, again, we wouldn't have to call people out if people just like did some Google searches on their own and saw and would debunk these guys. You know, now we have to have a whole conversation about it. But
it's okay.
these guys are not fact checking themselves. They don't have time. They're going one grift to the next grift. They're going to sell yerba mate and then Roca glasses and then Better Health.
Yes,
and then
he's an yerba mate guy now
and
too.
then
I saw him.
I've seen those ads. Then Athletic Greens, and he doesn't have time to be an yerba mate expert and a red light therapy expert and a blue blocker expert and a you know, neuroscientist and a Stanford professor and a
it's like,
podcaster.
Look, it's like AG1 sponsors a lot of people. Joe Rogan, for example, being one of them. I know some people hate him. They think he's a CIA plant, whatever. Maybe, maybe not. Again, I've been watching his podcast since also YouTube days of it just being live. And it was like, you know, nobody was there. Nobody even heard about this thing. So I'm still going to be a fan. But he promotes AG1. It's one of his sponsors. But he's a fucking stand-up comedian. And he doesn't necessarily even say stuff like that. He just says, I love this product. Makes me feel good. It's the best. Great. Okay. But like, him promoting it, especially with Brian Johnson calling AG1 out. Like, he's like, I mean, I got to give him credit for that. As crazy as that vampire guy is, I got to give him credit because he called it out and he did a bunch of testing on it. He found there's a bunch of heavy metals in it and there's not even the shit it's in it that they claim that it is in it. So it's like,
But that was convenient because he's like, okay, buy my blueprint powder instead.
You're right.
So I was like, okay, we know the bait and switch here. We've seen it. Oh, that product's crap. My product's better. My God. Wow, we did it again.
Yes.
You know? So,
I don't disagree on that. You're right. You're right. But it's just, you would think that a guy like Huberman would fucking know better. I mean, I'm just saying, like,
well,
I just don't think
I think you're hitting the point. His audience assumes he's the doctor and he's done the diligence and he's done the research, and he's even implied that with like, oh, Juve's the only medical grade device I could find, you know,
medical
in
grade. I love that.
Which doesn't mean anything at all. If you're FDA approved, that does mean something, but none of them are. So they switched again. They used to claim FDA approved until, again, I had to call them out a bunch of times and all this stuff. So now they're medical grade, which means nothing.
Yes.
So
you can buy, most supplements on Amazon will have that just for marketing purposes. They'll put,
it's not a regulated term.
Grade. They'll put pharmaceutical grade. And really all that fucking means is just that, there's a lot of it in there, whatever you're fucking buying, really. And hopefully, at least kind of honestly. With supplements,
so that's the trap. It's like, if Huberman's a health expert and he's selling nutritional supplements and red lights and glasses, you think he's got the health. Like you said, Joe Rogan's not really a health expert. He's just, you know, trying to pay for his podcast.
I listen to him sometimes and I cringe too, the shit that he promotes. But at least, like I said, he just promotes it. He thinks, you rarely hear the guy say.
It's like a commercial on TV. You know, it doesn't really mean much.
It doesn't bother me. And also,
content.
I've heard him change his mind about shit, and I like that. I do think he's genuine, you know. But again, if people disagree, that's fine. The point of it, though, is, like I said, he's a fucking stand-up comedian, and if he promotes some stupid peptide which doesn't really do anything, even his alpha brain thing, like, I've taken it again when Aubrey Marcus was like at the face of it too.
I've tried.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know. I didn't have those fantastic results, and I don't know. I don't care for it. Okay, but it's his thing. But that doesn't bother me. But with fucking Huberman, right? Because he's supposed to be, at least right now, he's like, I feel like he's the face of health influencers, or like, you know, like the professional whatever doctor, right? I think there's no one else really. You know, I mean, used to be whatever Dave Asprey and shit, that the face of that, and he kind of fell off. And so people, like you said, people listen to him and, he must know 800 and not all red light therapy.
And you see, I've seen comments on like Trustpilot, on Juve's Trustpilot, of like, man, I bought this Juve because of Huberman, and I'm really disappointed with like the customer service, and it's not as good as I thought it'd be. And if you do any research of alternatives, they're cheaper and better. So it's like such a disappointment of like, you have to assume that guys like Huberman and even, you know, Joe Rogan, I can't afford to sponsor those guys. Like, they have huge marketing budgets that you're paying for the marketing and the sponsorship budget in addition to the product cost. Like, you know what I mean? So if anyone ever promotes something, I start Google searching. I'm like, oh, Huberman is promoting some new blue blockers that are $250. I'm going to Google search and find a cheaper alternative because I know it's probably out there, and you're paying for the marketing markup for his sponsorship. So, and then, you know, I posted, I'm like, yeah, you can get the UVEX blue blockers that are, you know, 20 or 30 bucks on Amazon. Biohackers have been using it for decades. It's like, just get, you know, just get that. If you need something fancy, then yeah, you got to pay more.
They don't look as sexy, but I mean,
you're right.
Come on,
I
but
just
listen,
wear them
you're
around
wearing
the
bright
house.
red glasses or orange. Like none of them look. You look goofy no matter what. So
right. Yeah.
if you're concerned about the blue light blockers, I was trying to remember. Just I mean, I'll link all this stuff for people that are listening. But yeah, it's a podcast with Dr. Hattar, or Hattar. That, like I said, Huberman's on, and he just kind of goes, blue light blockers, whatever. And then like 3 years later, now he designed the pair of roll cages.
Right, he supposedly designed it. Again,
of course he did it, right?
How these guys have the time to design blue blockers and design, like I've heard this from R.E. Witten. He claims he designed, like, you know, certain brands of red light therapy panels. I was like, listen, these guys don't know how to design their way out of a paper box. So like, if they claim to design something, I'm running the other way. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. They sent him. They sent him a few samples, and they said, "Which one do you like the best?" And he said this one, and they just fucking put his name on it. That's it.
But yeah, so blue blockers, they are controversial still because there's not a lot of good evidence of, like, does it improve your sleep quality or certain sleep metrics or your melatonin production. You know, I prefer blue blockers at night, or I use, you know, the screen dimming tools on all my electronics, and I use red light bulbs.
I have that for years. Have you heard of Lux? Do you have Lux on your computer?
I have Iris. I've used F.Lux.
You know,
Iris
Flux.
is great.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It's I had it on my computer for like 10, 12 years probably. So that's why I forgot the name of it.
And then even Windows has it built in. Like, there's a slider to turn down the blue light. The phones have it all built in, of like, they call it, they have different names for it, like night light mode or nighttime mode or whatever. So you can find these settings that are built into the phone. So people must be demanding these features. And I keep those modes on all 24/7 because you want less blue light, hazard to your eye. So there's a lot of merits to blocking blue. The studies aren't great, but I've been blue blocking for years, and I don't plan on stopping. And again, it doesn't need to be expensive. That's the problem. You don't have to convince people with fancy science to spend $200 on a pair of glasses. That's where problems happen. But some cheap blue blockers, and you'll be covered. Or again, start swapping out your light bulbs with low blue lights at night. Red light bulbs, whatever you can get. A lot of cheap options out there and you'll feel, people usually feel it. If you dim your lights and use red or orange or whatever, it kind of feels nicer. You feel a little bit better, for your whole kind of sleep hygiene setup.
Yeah, that's been my biggest. I've been doing that. I just honestly, I hate lights at night.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. Girls, I don't know if you have this experience with your wife, but girls often want that shit always bright. I don't know why. Is your wife into having the?
No.
She's
the opposite.
That's good.
I'll be like cooking in the kitchen, and she's like, "You don't need the lights on. You're wasting electricity." She turns off my lights. She turns off my lights. I'm like, well, okay, nice. I don't know, but yeah, she's constantly turning off all my lights. I'm like, you don't need this light.
I just had that experience where it's like my mom is like that all my life. Like if I'm somewhere, she'll walk in. Why is it so dark in here? And you're fucking.
No, yeah, so, my wife's we're the opposite of I'll just turn on lights, and I have good quality lights, so it's not like it's a problem. But she's always turning them off.
Yeah, and so where do people? Since people are confused and don't know, I mean, I forgot the website, but I have it in my bookmarks. There's a big website where they sell incandescent lights, all sorts of these bulbs and stuff. Where do you get your bulbs when you get some old school stuff?
Well, I've gotten Amazon has the Philips Ultra Definition. You can get it at Target, I think, too, if you don't want to support Amazon, but Target has Philips Ultra Definition, so it's high CRI. You can choose the 2700 Kelvin. You want the lower color temperature. If you get 4,000 or 5,000 Kelvin, that's with the hospital kind of dead lights that really ruin your eyes,
man.
yeah. So you want those warmer lower Kelvin lights. So Philips Ultra Definition is probably my top recommendation right now, wherever you can find them. And then I did a blog a couple years ago of tons of bulbs on lightbulbs.com, links to to the bulbs that you can get. There's waveform lighting that has some really good high quality bulbs with low flicker because they're made for videography and filmography and whatnot. So waveform lighting, but they're much more expensive, and they're not that much better than Philips Ultra Definition. So yeah, shopping for bulbs is really key. These days I just I get a lot of traffic.
Like speaking of my mom, I was at her house and it's like, I try to record a slow-mo video.
Yeah.
It's just like
terrible.
And you don't notice it. So people, if you're not sure, use your iPhone, right? You can just do a slow-mo recording. And if it's flickering, that's, you got to replace those bulbs. So, but the Philips one is your go-to.
Yeah, Philips Ultra Definition is really good. High CRI, low flicker. It does have dim. You can dim it, and it dims pretty well. So, cheap options for light bulbs. You don't need anything fancy. I know there's tons of brands selling fancy white light bulbs, but I'm like, why would you go to some random biohacker bulbs.com and I'm like, just go to Philips or GE or Sylvania has some good ones, but it's like, just go to the real brands that know how to do it right. So that's key. Huberman, that kind of flip-flop. I was watching Scott Carney, if people want to watch some more stuff on Huberman. Have you seen Scott Carney
I think I have. He has one that's just like Huberman is a liar, right? Is that like one of his videos?
Yeah, he just has I break down how AG1 is like the worst, kind of thing you can find. So
legend. Yes. Well, I think that might have been where I saw a clip of Huberman from that podcast, which was I had to, I forgot about that.
He was trying to bust him on the blue light, kind of flip-flopping on the blue light blocker kind of thing too. So that's what it reminded me. I was like, he did some little reporting of like, look at this clip, and then now he's selling blue blockers. We got him. So it happens with kind of the flip-flopping. I've seen people say, red light therapy is no good. And then they join an affiliate program, and then they start saying how red light therapy is so great.
I do it all the time.
It's like crazy. Huberman. So 850, the study, I forget what the high intensity thing really gets me. I think it's really been like getting more and more dangerous every year because the panel brands keep increasing their intensity because guys like Alex Fergus and Ari Whitten set the groundwork of like, oh, you need high intensity, otherwise it's not going to work. And Huberman kind of echoing that bullshit is like, we're gonna be a recipe for disaster. And you don't need it. You need low intensities. Listen to a lot of the recent interviews with Dr. Glenn Jeffrey, which is a study that Huberman was promoting, was by Glenn Jeffrey's group. So go
this recent study or another study? This
recent study, the 850 nanometer, the light penetrating through the skin, all that stuff was Glenn Jeffrey, and he's been very outspoken on all these podcasts that you don't need high intensities, you don't need high dose, you do need adequate exposure time. Sometimes it's only a couple minutes, sometimes it's 15 minutes, but you need low intensity for just the right amount of time. And
how do they measure the exposure
benefits.
time? How can you figure out how much exposure time? I mean, they're measuring them. You're saying using those sensors, the same thing?
No, you just turn on your light and then you start a stopwatch. 15, that's it. So
basic baseline is 15 minutes, you're saying?
Yeah, I'd say like low intensity for 15 minutes. And then it's kind of different. Like for your eyes, you only need 3 minutes because your eyes have a lot of mitochondria. They're very sensitive. There's no skin protecting the retina. So you want that lower dose of like 1 to 3 minutes. And then a lot of skin contact studies for muscular skeletal things, those are also in the range of, a minute to 90 seconds of like the skin contact. So a lot of my panels, I say, okay, for your muscles, skin contact, just 60 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes at most. And so like I was just treating, some sore muscles the other day. I'd set a timer, 2 minutes, one spot, 2 minutes, another spot, 2 minutes, and then boom, I'm done. So there's a little bit of nuance to it, but low intensity from a non-contact panel, 15 minutes seems to be the sweet spot. Again, there's nothing fancy about calculating like the joules per centimeter squared. That's the amount of energy density that you absorb. And, I've got all these calculators. I know the science better than anyone else, but I also know you don't need all these calculations. You just need low intensity, adequate exposure time, a wavelength or two. Oh, that I just remembered the other thing on Huberman's. What do you say? Was the gatekeeping sunlight guys like Huberman and Medcram? They say, okay, this study used 850, and I tried calling this out a couple years ago with Medcram. They said, okay, this study used 850. Now go outside and get sunlight, which is broad spectrum. It's got blue, it's got green, it's got longer wavelengths, shorter wavelengths. So you cannot assume those two stimuluses are exactly the same. And so again, if you listen to Glenn Jeffrey's podcasts where he's interviewed, he says you want to exclude other wavelengths of light. So there seems to be something special when you're just doing red light or you're just doing one wavelength of near infrared light. There's a different response than if you're getting from broad spectrum, like an incandescent bulb or from sunlight. That's something they haven't really investigated a lot, but they're assuming that that's part of the special sauce of creating this stimulatory effect is that you're excluding other wavelengths. It's not broad spectrum because it's like, things that are natural tend to be a lot more subtle effects on the body, which is good. It's healthy. It's like eating whole foods.
Yeah.
But sometimes you want high dose vitamin C to fight off an infection. That's kind of different. So if I eat 100 oranges, I'll never get high dose vitamin C in the same way as I can just take a supplement. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's the same thing with red light therapy. Exclude certain wavelengths, not doing broad spectrum. That's very special. So a lot of these guys are also just misleading. They're misrepresenting the studies because they're trying to, oh, it's sunlight's free. I'm not selling you anything. You're welcome. But they're not really being true to the science of like, there might be something unique about isolated wavelengths from LEDs or lasers that they can't even conceptualize.
Yeah, well, that's where Huberman is a fucking annoying because you can get it for free, but there are only this ones.
Right. So it's like there's so many layers of BS in how he's word salading and superficially it sounds nice. No one's going to question it. We sound like conspiracy theorists for breaking it down to this level of detail. What are we going to do? Like I've been an engineer. I nitpick science all the time. My coworkers nitpick me. We have to like really dig in deep and get those fine details right because any detail you miss is going to be the one that causes your reactor to explode. You know what I mean? So it's like you're not playing games. Oh, just get sunlight and you'll be fine, or this and that.
Listen,
it's very
whatever. I hope that doesn't get to you though. Does it, Andrew? Do people fucking does it get to you sometimes? I mean, I've graduated that a while ago. I think people. I've had people comment on my Huberman posts of like, I can't believe you make fun of him. He's a science. He's a scientist. He's not supported by anybody. He doesn't sponsor. This was like years ago, and I was like, years ago, I knew that he was, at least if he wasn't then, he was going to.
He was being courted by Juve, like when he did his a big light therapy thing. He was already being courted by Juve.
Yes.
So it's kind of like and it's fine. Like it's like the bigger they get,
right?
The more sponsors they have to take on. They're like building a business. You don't see all the people working in the background to produce all his content.
Yes.
So, it's kind of just goes that way that you have to get bigger and bigger and take on more sponsors. But yeah, I'm in the phase of like lashing out right now. Just a lot of just calling people out, lashing out, making sarcastic
No,
videos.
no, that's great. We love that. I just mean if other
Yeah.
people that are not that whatever, whoever you're making
Oh,
fun
yeah.
of,
No,
they
yeah, like I get
can't
people
take.
commenting of like, Andrew, if you don't stop making content like this, I'm gonna unfollow you. And I'm like, you're blocked already. So you have no power over me.
I
Like,
love
I'm
it,
not an
dude.
influencer. I don't need people worshiping me. If you
Yes.
threaten me with that kind of stuff, you are just blocked instantly. I
Oh,
will not
no.
take those kinds of threats of like,
Oh, no. And this is
Andrew, I
probably a person that
really,
has never bought a light panel from you or
yeah,
even really read your fucking blog post or
no,
anything.
I know.
I'm
Yeah,
sure it's
but
just
that,
them quickly scanning your Instagram and that's it.
well,
So.
yeah, that's the fun part. I try, if they comment on my posts, I try to tolerate it as much as I can because it's good for the algorithm. So they don't
Yes.
realize that when they get mad at me and they start saying, Andrew, I don't like all this negative content. They haven't commented on all my positive content that I put out for years, but
Yes.
they are commenting on my negative, what they call
Yes.
negative posts. But they're boosting the algorithm for that. So the signal they're sending me is to make more negative content. It's like the rage bait content. That's why it does so well.
Yeah.
Is that people comment and they share and they rage about it and they troll it. So unfortunately, that if you want more positive content or however you define that, I don't think it's positive or negative. But if you want more positive content, you need to engage with the positive content. So not just if you troll post me on what you think is negative, you're telling me actually the opposite. You're telling me to make more negative content.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry
It's kind
about
of
those
everything's
people at all.
opposite of like what people.
I don't think
Yeah.
it gets to you too I think you just kind of brush it off the shoulder and roll with it. No, I think you're
Yeah,
okay.
I roll.
Yeah,
like
good
I
for
said,
you.
if people troll post me, I troll post them back. It's good for the algorithm, and everyone makes their money, and then we all become apathetic, and because it's like all a game, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
exactly.
that's
Can't
the
take any of it too seriously.
erosion
But
of
if somebody
society.
was a troll that was trolling you and actually didn't know anything about red light therapy, and let's say they, because I do have some people that are like, they're interested or they ask me stuff about it. What's like a basic, like a quick 101 rundown? What should people look for is what I'm saying. Like, because as you said earlier, and I said you could go to Amazon, you
Yeah.
could grab a panel there. I mean, what are the basics? Just like what's like a good starting red light panel should have this, should be like this. What would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say most red light panels, they already, one wavelength of red, one wavelength of near infrared. So we're talking one wavelength red, 600s. Usually it's 660 nanometers. It could be 630. It could be 670. Whatever. At least one of red, one near infrared. It could be 850, 830, 810. And then you can get fancy in the 1060s, and those are more expensive. So I only have a couple panels that do that. But you really don't need it. Again, if
And
you
just a
feel
quick
like
pit stop. Most studies that are done, they're usually both, right? Red light and near infrared.
no, most studies
No?
are one or the other, one wavelength. So
Ah.
because this goes back to lasers, and lasers are kind of inherently just one wavelength. So the vast majority of studies, even to this day, are one wavelength. You only need one wavelength of red or near infrared to get this stimulatory
Oh, you're saying
effect.
either or, so you don't need
One or the other. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you get a panel, you'll be covered if you get one red and one near infrared,
Got it.
two wavelengths total.
Got it.
So you'll be covered. 800s, 850, 830, 810. So most of them have 850, but I have more, more wavelengths and whatnot. So that's it. So the wavelengths are covered, and really, a lot of people kind of want certain wavelengths that cure certain products, certain diseases, and near infrared does penetrate a little bit deeper, so it is preferred for brain health and muscles, and targeting the deeper organs. And the red wavelengths are kind of more preferred for skin health and superficial wounds and wrinkles and acne and stuff.
And again, being that if you get a panel that has both, you're covered
yeah,
both.
you'll be
Is what you're
covered.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do
you'll be
you
covered.
and do you, for example, have though panels that are one or the other? You do, right? You
I
so
have a couple, right, for a little bit more specialized. Like I have one that's all 810 nanometers because that's one of the most studied wavelengths in all the science. So I have
Hmm.
one panel that's all, one wavelength. So I have a couple that are more specialized. They're not as popular,
Okay.
but that's more for deep tissue and getting that deeper tissue kind of treatment.
Why is the
Um,
810 studied so often?
it's one of the oldest near infrared lasers. So it's
Ah.
808 laser. So again, it kind of goes back to commercial availability, and
Mhm.
they just do tons of studies and they keep getting good benefits. So they do more studies with it. So
Mm.
there's not a lot of like method of like, so, there are some theories of like different biological chromophores, which are like, the molecules in the body that have preferential absorptions for certain wavelengths. And
Mhm.
you can kind of break it down that way, but it doesn't seem to work that way. It's kind of more generalized. So that's why I don't like the hype around certain wavelengths curing certain things better than
Mm.
others. They're a lot more generalized than people normally think
So if
about
it'd
it.
be your guess, you don't think it's like a super special wavelength. You just think it's just
No. So if you
happens
have,
to be the one that they had and they just kept using it and they
yeah.
just keep using it.
So
Okay.
yeah, if I have a panel that's, uh, a study, well, say a study did a 810 and my panel
Mhm.
did 812. There's no
Mhm.
difference.
Mm.
Like, what I mean? So like
Yeah.
maybe if you get 20 nanometers away, yeah, you start to, there's going to be
And
a little bit of
near
difference.
infrared begins where? At what?
Around 760, depending on the standard. So, and then you still see a little bit of like faint like glow
Red?
from the LEDs from those wavelengths. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so after 760 is near infrared, so it goes 760 all the way up to 1400 nanometers is the
Wow.
official range. But
Mhm.
the biologically relevant range is like 800 to 1100.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so but again, there's so many wavelengths that are effective. No problem with finding panels with effective wavelengths. So
Lots of
then the
panels to choose from.
crazy thing
Go
is
ahead.
the intensity is like the power output, the
Yes.
bright, what we might see as the brightness of the light. But because near infrared is invisible, you can't really see, a relative brightness. So you have to kind of measure it with a specialized meter. But otherwise, it's the radiant output. So it's not how much electricity it consumes, because you could have a very inefficient panel that consumes a lot of electricity and doesn't output a lot. But I'm just saying you need the radiant output is this milliwatts per centimeter squared. So it's milliwatts, so it's power, and then it's divided by the area, kind of like density. We call it
Mhm.
power density, but like density of an object, like because it's the weight divided by the volume. So it's kind of tells you that information in a different way. But you need an adequate amount. You don't need a ton. I usually say 5 to 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared. Again, any device on the market can emit this much. It's not a lot of power, and that's
Mhm.
where the exclusivity comes from. Guys like Andrew Huberman saying you need high intensity.
Mhm.
Alex Fergus, Ari Wynn, oh, you need to buy our affiliated products because
Mhm.
we emit the highest intensities on the market, and you
Mhm.
really need that for the best benefits. That's all a marketing sham. Like, and again, they're hurting people just to
Yes.
deliver this marketing gimmick.
Well, and just
Um,
confusing the fuck out of people too, right? That's
well,
why. I mean,
yeah,
that's
but they're confused too, because again, these numbers mean
yes.
nothing. These numbers mean nothing to them. They believe the solar power meters that falsely inflated the numbers. So that was a measurement device that falsely inflated all these numbers to begin with, and that's
What do you
why a
mean?
lot
So,
of
oh yeah,
these.
we forgot to talk about that, right? So this
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
use to measure these numbers. Tell us.
right.
Mhm.
So yeah, so like I said, you can't really judge it just by looking at it, or even the power consumption. You need to measure. You get a little device and it measures
Mhm.
how much intensity comes from the light. And they were getting these solar power meters, which are kind of used for solar power. How good how to orient your solar cells on to collect sunlight,
Mhm.
and they use it for like grow lights and stuff. But they're not properly calibrated for measuring red and near infrareds, and they have a spectral sensitivity that increases around red and near infrared. So that basically makes them measure falsely high. So they kind of doubles the the real number. A lot of the cases.
Those meters they used for what? To measure one of the Juve lights or what?
Yeah, so Juve was using them, and it goes before Juve because Juve wasn't smart enough to come up with this lie. But but they were just copying other brands that were already doing it before them, and so everyone was using these solar power meters. And I was one of the first people to be like, "Hey," and I got my panels third party tested before I sold a single one, and I was transparent with, listing the numbers on my website. Because a lot of companies now have third-party testing, but they still false advertise with the solar power meter measurements, which is psychotic. So they kind of imply that their numbers are correct, and then they still false advertise. So it's like just the layers of lies are out of control. So that's what created this myth. That's kind of the root cause of why everyone was saying you really need 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared, because the solar power meters were saying that, when in reality, those panels were probably emitting 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared, like less than half.
And what's like a standard, like a regular whatever? Like what's the average, I guess?
Average, like intensity or
yeah,
power?
yeah. Well, the emitting power, yeah.
Yeah, so I say for photobiomodulation with like LED panels, 5 to 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So I'm not trying to be like restrictive of being like, oh, you can hit this like wide ballpark that any device can do.
And any of those will work. And any of those will work as a therapy. Okay.
Yeah. So any of those are therapeutic. Like I said, the study they just did was 9 milliwatts per centimeter squared. They just did another study on COVID patients that only use 2.9 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So we're talking low.
That's really
numbers.
even low. Okay.
Yeah. So and it's like amazing. But again, you can't hype up a product that only emits 10 milliwatts per centimeter squared, especially when you brainwash the industry that you need 100. So like, I don't, so they can't even backpedal on their own lies because they did it so well. Of like Ari Wynn writing a whole book about it, and all the influencers like Alex Fergus just mindlessly parroting numbers they don't understand. So they can't even backpedal on this anymore. So they're just locked in on their own false narrative. And they know I'll never let them live it down. I mean, they'd have to admit they were wrong, and they can't do that. They just would lose their minds. So so intensity
we got those intensity down numbers. We got
wavelength,
infrared light, and then how to use them. I mean, like I have a couple of your panels. I just put them. I just literally lay them down on me and wherever I want to be, and that's probably the best. You're saying, right?
Yeah, lay it on you.
But you don't want to be much farther away than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, so most of my panels, you can lay it right on you. You hold it right on the skin. I'm looking for one to grab, but you just put it right on your skin, depending on the power, depending on the device. Some of my devices, you only need a couple minutes. Some you need 5 minutes. Some, 10 to 15 minutes is good. So, put it on you, set a timer, whatever, depending on the device. I don't have any consistent, like, all my products are a little bit different. But that's it. You just kind of follow the instructions. You do that at least 3 to 5 times a week. You don't need to do it every day. Sometimes it's better to not do it every day because you want kind of some spacing between it to have like, it's almost like a recovery
to kind of build up. Okay.
There's cumulative effects.
Right?
So you just, set a timer, you use it for, 5 or 10 minutes, depending on the product. And super easy. For skincare, I say you can be like 6 or 12 inches away. The skin, the facial skin is much more sensitive. It's thinner. It's much more responsive to light. So I just say, 6 to 12 inches away, 10 minutes every other day. Again, the skin, you don't want to overdo. You don't want to cook it. You don't want to dry it out. Right. You don't want hyperpigmentation. So it's really, really easy.
Now, what do you think of those face masks? Because some of those fucking things are, I saw them for like, I don't know, man, like 5K. I want to say I saw one. Like, really
usually they're a
expensive.
couple hundred, 200 to 500.
No, I saw like a couple $1,000.
I know.
Face how, and it was just like, it wasn't even like sort of, it would just cover you kind of like that or something. I just couldn't believe it. How the fucking marketing.
Yeah. No, I think they work. I think The only, you know, the biggest advantage is kind of the convenience that you can strap it on your face and maybe,
Yeah.
you know, look through the eye holes and multitask or watch TV or work on your computer or something. So I think
Yeah.
it's more of a convenience thing. But you know, I like using panels at a distance for my face and skin. I don't like having stuff strapped on my face, even with mouth holes and eye holes. It feels kind of claustrophobic.
So you're not looking
and,
to create one with a beautiful.
no. And then you got to clean, you know, you got to make sure you clean it because your own oils and your own bacteria will get on the mask. So you have to clean it every time and, you know,
I
make
didn't
sure
think
it's
about that.
because your face is much more sensitive. So yeah, it's I think it's more of a hassle than it's worth. I know they do work, so I don't have anything against them. But yeah, and they're super low power. You know, you only need, and that's where some of the funny stuff that gets technical of like, there's individual LEDs on each point, and maybe those are 10 to 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared, but they're kind of spaced out like one every, like say every inch. So it's like you're not getting
You're kind of getting
uniform coverage.
yeah,
It's
you're
like
kinda getting
spot
some.
here, spot here, spot here, which is okay, but it's kind of like people get the wrong idea of like there's 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared on one spot,
Yeah.
but it's not homogeneous. It's
Yeah.
not like
Well, more
uniform.
maybe that's why some of the expensive ones. Maybe that's why, because there's a lot of those little points there. But
Yeah, but you don't want to assume because some the expensive ones are pure like
as we've talked about
pricing
with
is market, right? Your price point is part of your marketing strategy, so it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with quality or you know
Yeah.
whatnot. People assume that, but that's the point. If I jack up my prices right now, people will be like, "Oh, Andrew must have really
Oh
high
my God.
quality stuff because he's charging tons of money for it." I'm like, okay, well, that's an assumption you make because it's the only way your logic can allow you to understand that. But
You're a
so it's
terrible
like,
businessman, Andrew. You're a
right,
terrible
I
businessman.
know. But like that's I'm so cynical about it. It's just that's the
Nah, just
reality.
fucking be you. Be honest, bro.
Yeah,
That's why we support you.
yeah.
What else I was gonna ask you about your
So
panels? Because I have a couple of.
EMFs,
Do you,
flicker,
yes, thank you, thank you. That's
those
actually another
those are
topic.
always the top questions, and you know, we don't need to fearmonger people. If you don't want EMFs, then I've got plenty of panels that have low EMFs, and that way nobody can complain to me of like, oh my god, you know, the EMFs I'm concerned about. I have some of the lowest EMF products on the market. And so a lot of it comes from the consumer. They're afraid of EMFs. They listen to Jack Cruz and they said the EMFs will kill you. They listen to Mercola or whoever. So it's not me doing the fear mongering. I'm not
Yes.
some marketing genius of like, oh, I've got low EMF and you have to buy from me, otherwise you'll get cancer.
Yeah.
So again, I prefer to avoid EMFs too. So that's why I'm into
Sure.
that. So yeah, low EMF, whatever that means to people. You know, we could talk about milligauss and electric fields and magnetic fields and whatnot. But you know, all the measurements are on my website, and I do some measurements on the video so you can see them. But yeah, you want them low, as close to zero as possible. There's no, official thresholds for what's safe or what's not. It's kind of like, red light therapy. It's like if you're in a high magnetic field, if you're living under high power lines for most of your life, there's a higher chance of like childhood leukemia if you live under those power lines.
Yeah. Those are some old school studies.
But that's
Go
like,
back to the
yeah, so
Soviet
that's
Union
like
era.
the long-term exposure to a lot of exposure. So, people kind of want to avoid it. That's fine. So we avoid the EMFs. Flicker is, again, there's that kind of on-off modulation that comes from your alternating current from your plugs. The AC current, oscillates, and LEDs are much more reactive to that than incandescent bulbs. So that's why LEDs were a bigger problem when they first came to market. They had high flicker, and so that kind of stigma has stuck with LEDs for a long time. But now that a lot of LEDs you can design with these drivers that reform the AC into DC that's built into the panel, and it reforms the AC to DC, so it's very steady. So again, I have some of the lowest.
So you won't see that flicker, right? If you try to.
You won't see it. It's super low. I get a third party tested. It's less than 1% flicker because there's an up down modulation that's a percent, And then there's the frequency of how often it goes up and down, up and down. So there's two important factors. A lot of people only focus on the frequency of the flicker, but I think the percentage is a lot more important. So yeah, usually the frequency is about twice your alternating current. So in the USA, we're on 60 hertz AC. So most bulbs are flickering at 120 hertz. And so that's faster than the human eye can see. And so that's why even if you have a high flicker LED bulb, you can only see that with your slow motion camera. So that's why, you know, you do your camera check and you don't see it on the camera. You can't see it because we have what our brain kind of stitches it together and makes it seem more continuous than it actually is.
And the idea is that it's being stressful to your brain, but you're not noticing.
Right. It's a stress on your eyes and your brain, even if it's invisible.
Yes. And I do think, I mean, I feel kind of shitty. I mean, again, not to like demonize it, but I fucking hate those the crappy LED lights that, you know, they make me feel uncomfortable. You're working on any new red light products?
I'm kind of shifting things around. I took away some of my bigger panels, the full body panels, because I think logistically there were a lot for me to deal with as a small business, like big heavy panels, get them shipped on pallets, and you know the shipping costs were crazy. And but I'm working on trying to get one that's kind of splits the difference. That's about 2 feet tall and 1 foot wide. So that's kind of the biggest I'll go for that. So that should come out later this year, and that'll be a nice big panel. It'll have 5 wavelengths, so if people just want to kind of that general coverage of having a big part of their body covered, getting those
like you said, like
effects.
honestly, having to be able to stand in front of it or figure out how you're going to use the whole fucking thing is a little bit of a task.
Well, what people kept asking me for, which, you know, other companies provide, and I just say, hey, you got to buy from someone else, is they wanted a horizontal mounting bracket. So this whole apparatus, so you could lay down under it on your bed, and it's, you know, got the apparatus that hangs over your bed. And I'm like, this is, you know, I don't have that much space in my house to have a whole apparatus that hangs over my bed and like this whole thing. So I'm like, logistically, that's a nightmare. The assembly is a nightmare. And it's so much extra
only
work.
Very few people are going to buy it anyways. And
but I think people want it because they do want to lay down. They don't want to stand with red light therapy. They want to lay down, but then they're buying panels that are so powerful, you only need it to use it for like 2 or 3 minutes because they're blasting people's skin off. Anyway,
I don't know. It's like, and if you have a panel big enough, like you said, whatever, 2 feet, 1 foot, it's like it's plenty, and you're getting some of the benefits, as you said earlier, from one part of the body to another part of the body. Right. So I don't know. I never you know, every time I go to like a sauna place or a health wellness whatever clinic, they always have those stand up ones, you know, and it's just kind of standing there, and I'm just kind of like fucking bored, you know. I think I would just prefer just to sit down or lay down and just put it on my chest.
And you can't, there's nothing wrong with sitting down. Like I tell people, just sit down on a swivel chair or a backless chair, do your sit down in front, turn around.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah, just some of the big ones. I get why you didn't want to do it. Just analyzing it. But I mean, I guess they have some of those beds, but those beds are pretty fucking expensive, right? The full
the beds, again, they take up a ton of space, and they're, you know, kind of a nightmare. You know, you can get a bunch of panels and do some sort of DIY bed. I did a little video about how to make a DIY bed. So yeah, but otherwise I focus on like smaller panels, skin contact panels that you can press into the skin, and that compresses the tissue, and that enhances the penetration of the light and the absorption and all that stuff. A lot of things that, you know, again, people weren't paying attention to until I started talking about the science. So I've got more of the skin contact panels that are kind of unique to what I do.
Is there like a go-to? Because, you know, like I've had some people ask me like, which one do you recommend? And I'm kind of like, I don't know, Andres has a lot of different ones. Is there like a go-to or most popular one?
I'd say, my square panels that are like the Gemba Red Rex and the Gemba Red Improve, like they're usually at the top of the website. Like one of the first ones you see, the top left of the website will tell you that's the you know, prime kind of one, and then it kind of goes down in order of popularity. So it's pretty straightforward, but again, it's more about, you know, I tell people just to think about how you're going to use it. Don't think about like, oh, does this panel cure this thing, and then this other panel cures a different thing, and then this panel. Think about more
Good
like
point.
how you're going to use it. Of like, okay, I'm going to sit with this thing for 5 or 10 minutes. You know, at a certain point of day, make sure you have time to actually use it. And I'm going to sit with it, you know, before I get started at work, or I'm working on my office chair and I lay it on my chest, put it on my abdomen, put it on my legs, set a timer, and you're good to go. So think about more like the size and when and where you want to use it.
Or do you want
than-
to put it in front of you and have a coffee really, really
Yeah.
close to it and just meditate, whatever, like you said,
Right.
just kind of how you're going to do it instead of what's the best or what's the one that's going to
Yeah,
cure.
because I think, like I said, they're all very generalized. They usually have a couple different wavelengths that covers all the benefits. So it's more about just thinking about how you're using it than like what you're curing with it and what's the best kind of thing. So that's usually what I try to tell people, walk people through, of like visualizing how you're going to use these things, because it's like, you know, you could buy any fitness equipment. I got TRX straps and vibration plates and, you know, bikes and stuff, and they all collect dust. So think about like when and where you're actually using these things, because like you know, my TRX isn't doing anything for me if it's, you know, not being used.
And when
so
in doubt, maybe go smaller, probably, right? Like
Yeah.
I have one of
Small
yours
is
that
amazing.
has a timer on it, you know, automatically on it. I don't know what's the name of that one, but you know, it has a little kickstand, probably,
Vector,
you know.
yeah, that one's really
Vector,
great.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's the one, exactly. Yeah, and that one's great. And it has a little built-in timer, just boom, shuts off, done. And it's small. I can whatever, put it on my neck, put it on my whatever ankle. So I like the little ones too, honestly. Even though people
those are
always wanna go
so
big.
convenient, and they're very easily overlooked because people just want, oh, bigger is better. They don't know what they're treating. They kind of come to me. A lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I have mitochondrial dysfunction and I'm trying to use red light therapy. I'm like, are doctors prescribing mitochondrial dysfunction now?
No,
Like, is
they're getting that from
a thing?
Huberman, probably, bro.
I know, but like that's the it's kind of a loophole, because mitochondrial dysfunction is not a real medical condition, but that's why you can use that as a medical claim, because it's not regulated by the FDA. Like if I want to say, I don't know, whatever, cardiac arrest or something, that's a medical claim.
Yeah,
but if I say your heart has mitochondrial dysfunction, so treat your mitochondrial dysfunction of your heart with red light therapy, I didn't actually make any medical claims there. So that's the loophole. But yeah, you know, people kind of more want that generalized benefit of like getting a big panel, and that's fine, you know. But then I kind of ask them, they're like, well, actually, I have pain in my, you know, wrist. I have some arthritis in my wrist. I'm like, okay, so you don't need a full body panel if you just have pain in your wrist. You could get a small panel, get those benefits on your wrist. If you want systemic benefits, you treat your gut or your tibia or your sternum, and you get that systemic benefit even with a smaller device. So really focus on what's their biggest bang for your buck, of like, where are your pain points or your organs you're trying to target or whatnot. And you can usually do that with a smaller targeted device that's not going to be inconvenient to use.
As usual, bigger is not always better. So I appreciate you being honest about that. And I appreciate you being our red light therapy watchdog, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I guess
we need it. We need it. These are
me.
dire times, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing of like, you know, I don't enjoy calling people out. Like but it's like when I see this stuff and I start to see that, you know, maybe 8 years ago wasn't causing any problems with all these false claims, but now people are starting to scorch themselves with high intensity. And now, you know, people are being discouraged from using low intensity products that are safe and effective. That's a big problem, because it's like hurting people. It's denying people safe and effective treatments just because you're trying to upsell some high intensity big panels that's not giving anyone any benefit.
It's become the new mycotoxin free coffee. Remember when that was the rage? Remember that?
Man.
Right now, nobody talks about it now, right?
You
Everybody
see Dave's meltdown that Bulletproof removed that marketing claim.
No, there's a new meltdown. Oh,
yeah, it was a couple weeks ago that the Bulletproof, because he sold out. So
well, I knew that. He has like the new coffee.
I don't know if did everyone get that memo? Dave sold out. of Bulletproof, and now he's selling Danger Coffee, which he sprinkles some minerals in, and they settle to the bottom, and you don't actually get the minerals in your
Even
coffee.
worse. Oh my
So it's
God.
a terrible idea. But he's got to have a crazy gimmick. So it's not just the mycotoxin that he sprinkled. Now he's sprinkled in some minerals or what.
I think he's been sprinkling a lot more things on, and cutting it with a credit card lately. Judging from some of his posts lately in Austin.
Yeah.
Anyways.
We'll just sell crack coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So there was a meltdown, you said.
Bulletproof removed the claim of being mycotoxin free or mold free or whatnot. But I checked with Quantified Bob Troya. He's been a biohacker since early days. So he said they're still testing it, and they're still low levels of mold-free coffee, whatnot. They're just not marketing it anymore because it's a dumb, confusing claim that if you if you're the average consumer at Costco and you're buying Bulletproof coffee and it's talking about mycotoxins and mold-free stuff, you're going to be more confused than.
So they would just rather just buy good-looking coffee. That's organic.
Just buy good coffee, right? It's just good coffee, you know what I mean. So, so they took the marketing claim away, and it's not like they cranked up the mycotoxins. They just took the marketing. So Dave had a whole fit about that of look at what they're doing to my baby. But it's you sold out, bro. Why do you even care? Why would you care?
And even it all started falling apart when they started testing more coffees and realizing it's all about the same. If it's just a good organically grown coffee, it's going to be about the same.
Right. I can imagine. Right. If you because I saw a coffee process in Guatemala, and it's nasty. They leave the beans out in these big pools, and they let them ferment. And then they leave them out in the sun to dry.
Wet washing, and then
the wet wash. I'm you can imagine it could get contaminated every once in a while. But yeah.
It does, but then the other thing is that you roast it. That's the big thing with coffee, right?
And then you
roasted a lot of it, even if it was shitty processed. Probably. I don't know what I wonder what a Folgers would have. How much mycotoxins? I don't know.
Listen, I respond poorly to some of those cheaper brands. So I'll get the
I agree with you.
From
That's why I never
the cheap brands. So I do get the jitters. I don't know why Dave says it's the mycotoxins, but now I am influenced. I don't know why, but it's maybe it's the mycotoxins that gives me the jitters. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I hate to be whatever. This is my podcast, so I guess we are basically conspiracy theorists right now. Anyways,
this is our opinions and thoughts and stuff.
But I do know, for example, if you buy, let's say, 2 bags of the same coffee, organic, good coffee, if you let it sit there for months and months and months and months, it'll definitely give you less of a stimulating effect than the fresh one. I feel like most people can agree with me on that. I'm not talking about jitters.
They mellow out with time.
Yes. And then if you think about all these cheap coffee brands like Folgers, whatever, those ain't organically grown coffee beans. And they've been sitting there for probably fucking years, man. I mean, it's definitely not fresh. So why does it still give you such a strong stimulating effect? I don't know. Maybe they put caffeine in it, literally just put caffeine in it or something. I don't know how, because I agree with you. Sometimes I'll have a cheap
I get the jitters. Yeah.
I get a fucking buzz out of it. And I'm like, how is this possible? Because I know it's not the same shit that if I had it, back in my LA days. I mean, I used to buy it directly from a roastery in San Francisco where they got it the week or two before, then they roasted it that day, and then
there's a local roastery here in down the road from me now, and it's great.
It's great, right? And it tastes way different, but that's fresh, and the other stuff is definitely not fresh. But how does it give you the same fucking woo? I don't understand. I don't know.
Right, when your heart's pounding and you're hyper reactive and you're anxious. So I think there's more, chemicals, phytochemicals that are affecting it, how it's roasted, and different acids and whatnot that we're kind of overlooking, and we're focusing on the mycotoxins as the wrong
there's tons of shit.
So there's a lot more chemicals and chemistry
but it was a good story for a while, right?
Mycotoxins.
Yes, it was a good story for a while, just like this 850 nanometers right now. Hopefully
Yeah.
Hopefully we're gonna kill this one a little bit here or slow it down before people get confused. So yeah, man. So thanks for coming on here and talking about it. I appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
thanks for having me. Yeah, always glad to rant about it, or we'll
Likewise,
do
brother.
some.
Anytime we can do this again. If you need another chat, if somebody else steps out of line,
Yeah.
I'm always here down for it.
Oh man, well, we'd be doing this every week, so
Woo!
yeah,
Okay. Couple times a year, then we'll
yeah.
wait and build up to a good one.
Okay,
Things
Thanks
you
for your
sounds
own
good.
time.
end up owning you.